HairCor. In the more. Good morning, Harry.
Good morning, Corey.
I think I'm going to start the show here by saying today's not going to be your ordinary average HairCor in the more. And I want to, first of all, just extend my sympathies and condolences, Harry, to you and your family. As those that are close to us know, your father passed away recently, and we've taken a little bit of time off. And I think you had a great idea for the show tonight because at times like this, these are the moments where we really become nostalgic and reminiscent and think about all of the things that matter to us and the people that are closest to us. So we're dedicating today's show to our dads, which is amazing.
Absolutely.
So
Brilliant idea.
I think it's a brilliant idea myself. We're still going to play some tunes. We picked out some amazing cuts that I love the tunes you're playing. I've been playing them today in the studio. And, I went straight for a couple tunes that remind me of my father as well. So I think that this is a really good sentimental and show that we need to do.
Well, I feel that's exactly it, Corey. You got it dead nuts. I feel like I need to do this.
Okay. All right. So that's out of the way, and that's where we're at, and this is what the show's going to be today. This is the show.
This is the show.
Yep.
We might swear.
I want to start off with a topic if I can.
Of course.
Okay. I have this when I think about my dad, and I'm still very fortunate to have him, which is great because when things
He's a good dad.
He's a good dad. When things went down with you guys, I first thing I did is I actually emailed my folks and got on the horn with my dad and talked to him a little bit and realized that I got to do that a lot more. I'm pretty bad. Like I'll email him maybe once every 2 weeks or something like that, but not enough, right?
Well, you never have enough time when you think about it in retrospect, right?
Yeah, that's always it. But one of the things that I was thinking about a lot is that you were putting some pictures on Facebook that I thought were pretty awesome.
Was I?
Yeah. Well, there was a great picture that you put up, and it was a picture of the Woody, the station wagon.
Oh, yes, the old Parisienne.
And it immediately made me think about how many memories I have of when I was young and my dad, and how many of those memories are attached to cars.
Absolutely. The old station wagon, there's nothing like it. Back in the late 70s, early 80s, most people have some kind of experience in one.
I think there was a period when pretty much every family had a station wagon, yeah?
Well, most. It was different back then because you didn't need, unless you had more than four or more kids, you didn't need seatbelts for all of them. So if you had less than that, you could still get away with the sedan and lay one across the back window.
That's it. Or you could, if you had 8 kids, you could just throw them on the back of the station wagon. And that was completely legal. Didn't matter.
I've been there before.
Isn't there a thing where parents have enough kids, though, they stop caring about how many they've got? They're like, we can afford to lose 1 or 2.
I can't say for sure myself, but I've questioned that myself as well.
I kind of feel that way. Like I know a lot of first parents.
Which one are you?
Yeah,
they got numbers instead of names.
I don't know how many times have one of your parents called you by the wrong name.
It's happened, and I'm the only boy in the family, and it still has happened.
It must have been the long hair, right? But your dad was a diehard car guy.
He was, I wouldn't say diehard, but he had his group of friends that they loved their classics and their antiques, and they like spending time driving them and showing them off, and not so much time working on them. I got some work ahead of me. Okay,
so you've kind of inherited then some projects.
I have. I need a place to put them first, but yeah, I got a couple cars to play around with. I think.
Do you have any good memories? Like I can think of 1 or 2 memories of me and my dad in one of his cars. Like one of my favorite ones is my dad used to have an old blue Cougar convertible. And it was
nice.
It
what
was
year?
gorgeous.
Do you know?
I don't know the year.
Can you guess? Like
I can't. I wish I could.
70s or 80s?
I feel like it was the late 70s. It was a big boat. Yeah, it was a big boat, and it was a power horse. And I remember that we would always drive to Amberley in the summer, and he would take the top down, and we'd jump in the car, And we would go. And one of my favorite things is once we got past a certain point, like once you get past Wingham, it's kind of like, every man for himself on that road.
Yeah, it's not OPP land anymore.
Exactly. And I remember
let's just put the roof down while we're driving.
we would
Crack a few beers. What the hell?
And we get past Wingham, and he'd reach in the back seat and he'd pull out a can of beer, he'd crack it between his knees. And one of the things that I remember the most about is when the wind be blowing through our hair, and you could smell the beer. And he looked over at me and he said, "Come here." And I'm like, "What?"
Let you steer?
Yep. And he'd let me get up, and I'd hold the beer, and have a sip of beer, and then I'm steering the car as we're going down the highway. And it's amazing that in that time, in that era, you could just do that. You got away with that. Now, forget about it. You'd be thrown in jail for child abuse, but.
On a two-dimensional plane, I agree with you. If you decide to do what my old man did and teach me how to, it's not really drive, but operate on a three-dimensional level, yeah, I was pretty young when I flew an airplane the first time.
Yeah. And I wanted to get to that too, because your dad flewed.
Flewed a lot.
When did your dad start flying? Like, when did he get a license, get a plane? Do you remember?
Oh, it was about the same time, about my age, I think, or when I was born, I think. I don't recall seeing too many pictures prior to me, but as long as I knew him, he was flying. From when I was a kid, it was like one of the first memories, right?
I remember, and whenever I'd go over to your house, like I'd see pictures of planes. There was there'd be like a little hallway right by the one in the washrooms, right by when you go in, and you go to the left. But if you went to the left, I think you went into your dad's office, I'm guessing. Yep. And I don't know, because I've never been in there, and I was never allowed in there. It was like this.
You must not have any life insurance then. If you went in that room, you had life insurance.
All right. Or you needed it.
Well, that's a whole different group of people.
Yeah. But I remember that I'd look down that hallway and I'd see all the pictures of the planes and everything. Your dad was a pretty mysterious guy to me, because I don't think he ever really talked to me as much as he talked at me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the salesman in him, right?
Yeah.
It's a different. And to be honest with you, that I'm jumping all over the fucking ship tonight. I'm trying to keep a string here, but I'm changing topics way too fast because there's so much material everywhere.
Right.
But he that was the salesman in him. He talked at people, and it was quite interesting. I remember a few of my friends first time they met him, and the one time was a good friend of mine. I won't mention his name, but we used to work together, and we'd ride together into work. And we were sitting out the one Friday morning having a couple of beers because we worked the night shift. And my dad came out. I'm like, don't worry about it. It's cool. We might have smoked something before, too. I don't know. Yeah, maybe we didn't.
Okay.
But anyways, we're sitting on his tailgate, and the old man comes up. He says, oh, yeah. I introduced him, and he's like, where are you from? And so the person was like, and he says, what road do you live on? And he says, if you leave here now, would you may be able to make it home? And I just lost my shit then, right? I just started laughing. He's embarrassed to begin with, and no, I'm laughing at him. He didn't know what to do. We were teaming up on him. Man,
your dad was a wise ass, so like you are.
Yeah, probably. Nice. I got to get it somewhere, and that's where we're going. Oh, well, that's another topic. Stop changing topics so quick on me.
All right, I'm gonna just
all these segues happen. ADD strikes again. Thanks, Peanut Gallery.
All right, let's go back to the topic number one then. Is like what is probably the most memorable car that your dad had, or one of the best memories you had with your dad in the car?
The thing that probably most people would remember if they were from anywhere around that time, when my father got the 1926 Model T Ford, they were looking. It was the centennial year of Listowel. It was Listowel's 100th birthday, the one year, and they were looking for something to put on the coin. And they took a picture of my dad's 1926 and put that on the Listowel centennial coin. So
wow,
that was kind of iconic.
I didn't know that.
Yes. So if you find, I can't remember which year it is. I've got a bunch of them around here somewhere, but I'm not prepared at all tonight. But yeah, a certain year it was the centennial for Listowel, and Dad's car was on the back of the coin.
Good old Mapleton.
What
That's awesome.
I love screwing up in Mapleton.
That is awesome.
Yes, sir, Bob, I did.
But that thing, I wish I knew how to drive it. I don't know how to drive it. It's got 3 pedals on the floor, and only one of them's a brake.
Isn't the accelerator like a lever under the wheel or something that you pull?
On the throttle, yeah.
Yeah, the throttle.
throttle's underneath the steering wheel on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side is a choke.
Okay.
And
what is a choke? What is a choke? I don't understand what that is.
it's how much fuel air mixture gets pushed into the cylinders together.
Okay.
So you can add air or restrict the air.
Oh,
right?
you mean like like when you've got like a pipe and you're smoking tobacco and you have like a little hole?
Yes.
That's the choke.
There you
That
go,
is
buddy.
a choke too. Yes.
Oh,
Pontiac.
that's what all those hippie people are doing. Okay.
Joking.
Yes.
Choking.
Oh shit.
Wow.
Like Jerry Garcia ever sang about choking.
I'd like to talk about one story that I remember really good. It was my father used to meet us at the Listowel Airport. It was just south of us, north of Atwood there.
Mm-hmm.
And on my birthday, I'd have a bunch of friends come home on the school bus with me, and we'd have a big party here and cake and all that jazz, right? But before we got home, we'd meet my dad at the airport, and I'd pick usually 3 friends to go for a ride in the airplane after school. Anyways, well, we got into high school, and the one year Dad said, "Well, it's your birthday. You want to go flying?" I'm like, "Sure, but I don't know which friends to pick." He says, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, I've got 4 of them. Or no, 3 of them. Jesus. I got 3 of them. And it's not really going to fit a 2-flight run, you know what I mean? Or a single flight run. I said, that's okay. Let's screw it. Jeremy and Chris and Robert Hicks, come on out and we'll take you for my birthday for a ride in the plane. And I ended up staying on the ground. I said, you guys just go. I ended up staying on the ground. And I thought, the funny guy in me thought, you should run out in the middle of the runway.
Like during takeoff?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Because you go all the way down to the far end and warm up, turn the plane around. But he didn't need the entire runway to get the plane off the ground. By the time he got back to the hangars, which was almost to about 4/5 of the runway, he'd be off the ground a good 20 feet or so, right?
Okay, yeah.
And I thought, okay, all right. I'm starting to get a little wisdom in high school. Not much, but a little bit. And I said, no, you better not do that. He'll kick your ass when he gets home. So I just walked halfway out the taxiway, and it was a good, 25 feet from the edge of the runway. And sure enough, just like I knew, halfway up the runway, he was off the ground. But what does he do? He turns the fucking plane right at me. He flies that fucking airplane 12 to 15 feet just over my head, right over top of me. Wow.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean about parents who have a lot of kids.
They can spare a few. They can afford to lose one along the way.
Mom won't notice.
Oh, but damn it, it's obvious that I'm my old man's kid.
Yeah.
Because we think alike. And I had thought of that, and then the fact that he flew at me. But there was, you know what? I have never had, there's a couple close ones. Maybe it's why I drive so crazy. Or used to anyway. But that's why we have a Chevette Chronicles. But no, when someone flies an airplane over your head at 12 to 15 feet, you notice.
Yeah, those things are loud and they're big.
And they're moving a lot of air.
They're moving a lot of air. Did you get blown back a bit?
No, I just let myself go. I did it on purpose.
Yeah.
For effect, right? Like my buddies in the plane, they'd never been up before, right? So they'd all be looking out the back window, and he'd crank her right up so they could see me, and I'd be lying out, sprawled out flat instead of standing up still, right?
Oh man, that's crazy. Do you want to spin a couple of cuts here? Play some tunes.
Hells yeah.
Yeah. What do you got on deck?
I want to hear some. We'll have to tell this story after the break, but I got in a Pink Floyd mood. There was one time where a friend of mine brought over The Wall to the house. And we sat down and the old man watched the whole thing with us.
You're kidding.
Yeah, the movie. I was blown away. And
Wow.
I'll tell you what he said after we come back from the break. But yeah, going to play some Coming Back to Life and Lost for Words off the
Division Bell.
Ding, ding, ding record.
Wonder what Scooby and the gang are up to right now.
Okay. Stand by, Harold.
That's sped up. Look at this guy.
Little fucking soul.
Oh, across the median. Yeah, back across it again.
Driving in your car or perhaps sipping your cup of joe. It's another typical morning, but something is different. You hear a sound unlike one you've ever heard before.
Sorry,
You
that is
realize
awesome.
You may have stumbled upon the greatest audio discovery since the dawn of mankind. You realize that you're in
HairCor.
Hello? Are you there?
Do you ever find out or find that when you put on like a Pink Floyd song, you've got to continue to play Pink Floyd? Like you can't just listen to one tune.
No, and it's best in sequence, of course. No, you have to. You have to. You can't stop listening to Pink Floyd once you start. And then my problem is picking up a guitar after that.
Mm-hmm.
I started listening to it, it's like, wow, I want to do that.
Yeah, as soon as I saw those cuts, I'm like, oh man. And then I just listened to the whole Division Bell record.
Did you?
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good.
It's so good.
So good. God.
So good.
So you sat down and watched.
It was like, I can't. Weaver and I didn't even really know each other then, but he just came to town. He started hanging out with the guys at Smith's and hanging out with Crispy, and he came out to my place the one day with a copy of Brick in the Wall, or another Brick in the Wall, the movie.
Yep.
And I turned to the old man, where I was laying on the floor, and I was like, I don't know. And I turned to the old man, I'm like, can we watch this? He's like, I guess so. So we put the movie in the player, and Jeremy lays down on the floor, and the two of us sit on the floor, and the whole time I'm watching, I'm like, oh my God. Like, what is he gonna think of this?
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't say a word through the whole thing. And it ended, it hit the credits. Jeremy grabbed the video cassette out of the VCR, and I turned and looked at him, and he I don't think he did anything. I don't think he even shrugged. I think he just said, wow, that was interesting. And Jeremy put it in his pocket and he left. Never brought it up again.
When do we? I just wrote something down because it made me think of something. It's like, there's a point in our lives when we're growing up that we think our dads are amazing, and then there's some turning point. There's some pivot point when we go, dads just don't know what the fuck is going on. Like they just
start to question the orders and the rules.
Yeah, and it's just sort of like they seem or they become immediately, confused to us.
Yeah, and see, in my situation, I didn't blame my father one bit for his direction with me after that.
Okay, because I
was a dick.
I think we were all dicks to our dads, especially when we were teenagers. I mean, that's just the way it was, right?
Oh my God, I destroyed cars.
I think it was though too, because I remember, like, if I think of a lot of the things that I did when I was younger and how pissed off he was, and I didn't think it was a big deal, you start to realize that it's like, I'm kind of embarrassing this guy in the community.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah. Yeah. At that point you try and change, but you've already kind of set yourself up for the last few years.
Sure. Because
that's a hard point too.
Like, we don't realize until we're older and, our friends have kids and everything, that all those adults and everything that we were going around, we didn't care about. What they're really saying is not like, there goes Harry. They're going, there goes Al's kid.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And that's what pisses them off probably more than anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I remember going to a kid's birthday party not too long ago, and the parents of the parents knew my parents, and we got introduced, and the father was like, "Oh, you're Al's kid."
Uh-huh.
I'm sitting there. Yeah. I remember hearing about you, and like, oh, now I'm embarrassed. This doesn't sound good at all.
No, it never. It's never good when it starts like that.
Nope.
Yeah,
So
but
they didn't really want to divulge much, but I'm sure they heard some of the worst things I did back then.
Yeah, maybe. But I think the question is like, when you're someone's dad, right, and you're watching your kid do a bunch of shit, there's got to be part of you that in the back of your mind, maybe they forget, because I think they forget, but they got to go, man, I remember when I was a kid, I did things that are a lot worse than that.
Yeah, now that I have a daughter, it is more like that. It's more like, wow, she came through that way better than I did. and as a result, so did I. I don't know how I got so lucky. I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't want me as a kid. Looking back now, even more so now that I do have a kid.
You know, it's the hardest thing about, dads is you almost, once you get to that point where you start thinking your dad's confused, it's the same time that you start building these walls, and these walls are like all made of pride. And you just,
and at the same time, when I thought my dad was confused, he really actually was, because there was a lot of stop signs where I asked him if he'd seen them.
Okay.
Did you see that? See what?
Okay,
was she good looking? I'm like, no, man.
God.
It was a freaking stop sign.
Yeah. It's so hard though, because you just, when you get older, especially now, and you kind of look back, and we talked about this a little bit before the show, like that, oh shit moment when you go, I'm my dad, I am my father.
My biggest what do you call it? Hint to that was the phrases, the word. I'd use his words, and the funny part about it is you and I have a special link due to that, because I'd start using his phrases. I think I started using them about high school, and I remember you calling me on stuff and going, Harry, don't you mean bulbous?
Right.
Like,
Bulbous.
oh, maybe. Okay. Bulbibius sounds better though.
That reminds me.
I got all these words that my father used to make up, and I use them in the real world, and people would be like, "What did you just say? That's not a word."
I just wrote down 3 words that my father says that drove me nuts in high school. First word, and I think he probably still says this to this day, is irregardless. And that drives me up the fucking wall, because there's no such, it's like, there's no such word as irregardless. You can't put a prefix on that. So that's number 1.
It's just regardless.
It's regardless. And I would always tell him, it's like, okay, what you mean is irrespective, if that's what you want to do, but whatever. The other is that...
It's irrelevant and regardless.
Right.
Regardless.
My father also, for some reason...
That's what I always thought it meant. Because whatever you're saying is irrelevant, and regardless of how you feel, this is the fucking way it's gonna go. That's the way I always took it.
I could see it being developed that way. I could see us hicks up here in the middle of southwestern Ontario just making up our own words.
We do.
My dad seemed to do it.
Yeah, but I understood it perfectly.
We should introduce to the listeners the guy off camera as Dan.
Yeah, Dan's here.
Dan's here hanging out, in case you're
Hi,
wondering,
everybody.
like, what the hell
Over
did
here,
where'd
say
this
hi.
voice come from?
Hello.
Hey, look at you. I got 2 more words. Can I spit these out?
Yeah.
Yeah, my father can't say the word pumpkin.
Oh, how does he say it?
He says pumpkin.
I like saying pumpkin.
Pumpkin.
I say it because I like to say pumpkin.
Yeah. And there's one more, and this always drives me crazy, because when I was in high school, I was friends with Krishna Behari.
Yeah.
And
No.
my father, just for the life of him, couldn't say Krishna. He kept saying Krishna. And I would keep correcting him. It's like, it's Krishna. And he's like, okay, yeah, whatever, Krishna. I'm like,
The R is after or before.
yeah.
Aye.
Anyway,
Aye.
used to drive me nuts. Anyway, irregardless, he would come over for pumpkin pie, and Krishna would we'd go crazy.
Nice job, Corey.
My old man, I use it a lot lately, is we used to steal Little Rascals stuff too, but the one that I never heard anyone else say that I remember and I use it a lot is that's what thought did. After somebody said, I didn't think that would happen.
Oh, God.
That's what thought did.
Oh, man. When dads have things that aren't funny, it's just so not funny. God.
They're funnier later. It's a time thing, I think.
Probably. I feel like spinning a couple tunes here.
I wish you would.
Okay. And they're kind of cheesy. But you know what? Sometimes, like, we've talked about this before, because we get old, and irregardless of how old we are, we start becoming like sentimental about good tunes, and we start. Oh, I got an alarm going off telling me to stop this segment. Sorry. I'm a producer. What do you know? And we start listening to these tunes, and we go, man, remember when it was so gay when you listen to that tune? But then when you get old, it's like, oh, this is a pretty good tune. So I gotta play. I can play "In the Living Years," followed by Eric Clapton, "My Father's Eyes," because you know what? They're fucking good tunes. So suck it.
Happy 4th of July! 4th of July. Hooray!
Happy 4th of July.
God bless America.
Station name goes here.
Dan came up with a good point on the break there.
What's that?
We should make the word irregardless a real word and more irrelevant into regardless.
All right, I'm into it.
You like, oh, you can hear it. Panty Proby.
All right, these last 12 minutes, man, these are all like yours. Whatever you got.
Dude. Well, I got some thanks. I want to do some thanks, but
Okay.
God damn it, you gotta slow down. You made me burn on my material too quick.
I didn't do it. You went off on all those tangents. I just sat
I
here.
couldn't help it. There was just all these
I talked.
good segues.
I mentioned a car, and then I mentioned something else, and then you just went off.
I know, right?
Car, pain.
That's all I got to do is say Harry to car. It's like car. It's like blah, blah.
Oh, there's some stories there too.
Oh yeah.
All right.
All right, early mornings.
You gonna roll this guy?
Yeah.
Do
They
it.
didn't make the Chevette Chronicles though. You could do a special episode of Chevette Chronicles. Talk about Chevette.
Fear of self-incrimination.
That's what you got to be careful of.
It was a cricket.
I remember that part.
What is that? Are we in a boat? Wow, that's neat.
You know what? I'm almost my favorite part of the show is listening to those little snippets from the original episodes.
I don't know why we gotta re-edit those or paste them in somehow. Outside of no, I like how you just drop a clip in.
Okay. I think you might be onto something, though. We could sit down and we could intersperse these amongst another show, and people wouldn't know, like, what's the old show, what's the new show.
And we never played any of our original stuff, though, either, which we have copies of.
Yeah, that's true.
There was how many? There was at least 5 or 6 recordings you and I did just monkeying with instruments, too, outside of the original HairCor.
Should we this is not the show, but maybe we should put together a show where
Maybe we should have production meetings
Yeah,
once in a while.
Oh God, here we go. Every week I hear this. Every week.
Every week?
Oh no, actually, but at least once a month I get it. I'll tell you what. Let's sit down. Whatever Tuesday or Thursday of next week that we mutually get drunk and we don't know it.
Yeah.
Let's just
I kind of noticed because Corey doesn't usually post after 11:30 midnight. Started seeing posts and I'm like, hey, I'm posting too.
Yeah, next thing you know, there's like, look, Corey's taking pictures of his like kitchen parts.
Yeah, where did I get all these casseroles?
Yeah, because I have no idea either why I went through my cupboards. Like,
Casserole.
for some reason.
I've never made a casserole. Have you made a casserole before?
I've made casseroles, but I never needed to make 3 at once.
Well, if I come back down to Costa Rica again, I'll make sure we got a recipe that we got to do 3 at a time.
I think that's a good idea. All right. All right.
No, but like I was saying, when we come back from the break, I think Dan's got a good point. You mash irrelevant with regardless, and you've got irregardless.
Irregardless.
I think we should make it a real word.
But it's
Same with bulbibius. It's just a little wider in the middle than bulbous.
the only way we can do it though, because it makes it a double negative, is that you have to put another prefix in front of it. You need to make it like unirregardless.
I'm down with that. I don't care.
Because then that cancels out the ear.
Well, you don't want to cancel out the ear because that's the irrelevant part of regardless.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, I'm with Dan.
I understood exactly what my mom was saying when she said irregardless. It means it's irrelevant how you feel about the situation, and
regardless of what you're going to say next, it's still the answer is no.
You're not doing it.
You know what it is? It's because it's probably a Canadian thing. It's just we have so little energy, we have to conserve it because of the cold.
I was just telling him that earlier.
We just mash all these words together. Maybe.
That's why I don't run unless I need to. But I'm very, very fast.
I feel like at the beginning of the show we burned through a bunch of stories too quick.
Where'd you get that idea
I don't know. It just came to me. I mean, irregardless of the fact that this is a 1-hour program. I don't think we got all the seeds out of the pumpkin.
Well, we probably didn't. And I don't have the memory or the capacity to go back and do it again.
Oh.
Cars and airplanes and our dads. And
Well, let me ask you. Let me ask you a question.
I'll take a moment here, and I want to thank everybody that did come to visitation and the funeral. I want to apologize. It was so short that anybody got turned away. We just didn't want to prolong it more than we had to. And I want to say I love my sisters and my mom. Great people. And nothing could have been done, or none of us would have been here without you. So thanks.
That's pretty awesome. I was amazed to see, I mean, there's just obviously just an incredible outpouring, because your dad was such a staple in the community. You know, your father was such a huge part of Listowel. So that's, I mean, it's a really big deal, and you don't really realize it until that time comes. You know, I remember that, recently when you lose, people like from the Smith family or whatever, the Hay family or something like that, you stop and you go, whoa, these people were instrumental in the building of this community, in this town. They were such an integral part of what Listowel is, and so many people just don't know that. It kind of makes it a shame.
He spent a lot of time in the community, in clubs, and he had quite the clientele list. It ranged from the lake all the way to the north of Toronto, and any parts in between, and north and south too. So
yeah. I remember, like, when I lost my grandpa, good old Grandpa Coates, I didn't really fully understand. I was maybe 16 at the time. I had no idea how important he was and integral he was in Listowel until, he passed. And then everyone is just like, okay, let me tell you about your grandpa. It's like, whoa, yeah. I had no idea about all this cool stuff, So
well, I think that's important too in your life. I like you said, my father was a bit of a mystery to you. My mother's even more of a mystery in a lot of ways. And I'm not going to share any of her secrets here on this fucking show. But I think that's a good way to be. I think that's what keeps us keeps us interested in our parents, is to know that there's still stuff out there we haven't heard about them yet.
For our generation and going forward, it's going to be really, really interesting because we have pictures of our dads. We have stories and memories, but our kids are going to have like YouTube clips. We're going to have to learn how to take down. Our kids are.
Dad, I can hear now. Juno, Dad, you're embarrassing me. Stop posting.
Right, Dad, you're breaking Facebook. But even think about, how many pictures there are of us out there now. as compared to how many pictures there were of our parents and their generation. It's insane. Hardly any.
I was actually going through my Facebook photos looking for a picture of me and my dad. I don't have any online.
Yeah.
They don't exist.
I have like a picture of my dad that I snapped of him and he got angry, and it's a blurry picture of him getting angry that somebody's taking a picture of him. That's what picture I have of him on my computer. No,
I think both of us come from the same trough. I think our fathers were especially hard on us, but I think it was worthwhile, and I think there's some merit in the way they raised us.
I concur.
Yeah. I think you probably had similar experiences talking to my father as I did with yours.
Yes, I did. He did say something that it didn't escape me all these years, but unfortunately now we're doing the show, it totally escaped me, and I still use it to this day. And I know the next time I'll be in a situation where I'll need to use what your father passed along to me. I know it'll come then, and we'll have to do a whole another show.
All right. Yeah.
No, I learned a lot from your father as well.
He's an interesting cat. There's no two ways about that. And it's so funny because, like, we mentioned earlier that there's so many of the things that we don't like about ourselves are the things that are our father. At least for me, that's very much the case. And
oh yeah, it's definitely. I think it's in most gentlemen's case. Like, yeah, it's a little bit embarrassing that you realize that you're that much your father's son.
Right. It's like when you, I guess have you ever seen like when your parents got into an argument and like your dad would say to your mom, it's like, you're so much like your mother. Yeah. And if you want your spouse to not speak with you for the next, 6 weeks, just tell her that's exactly what your mom would say.
Nope, never heard that at my house. Ever.
Because I'm just thinking, like, if I did or said something and my girlfriend said to me, it's like, God, you're so much like your father. It's like,
oh yeah.
That's the button you push. That is the exact button you push.
Yeah, that's a good button. Not a good button. That's a big button.
Yeah.
Easy button.
Yeah, that's pretty strange. Like I have, I don't know if you want to talk about some of the characteristics or qualities, but I can tell you this. I'm pretty introverted, and I really like to only deal with maybe one or two people at a time, and that's it. And then I need time to recharge my batteries. Uh-huh. And I didn't really realize that I was like that until maybe, 2-3 years ago when I started like looking into it. And it's like, whoa, this is me. It's like, okay. And it became a thing where I started looking at my father and the way he's lived his life and all the things I've been critical of the last, 20 years that I've been observing the way he is. Uh-huh. And I realized it's like, wait a minute, he's got the same thing. He's the same kind of dude. And it's like, all I am is a dick about it.
Well, I always wondered how much of a dick you thought you were for just bringing me over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I always wondered, because you are like your father as far as introversion goes. I always thought, fuck, this guy hates me.
Yeah.
He doesn't even know me. He already hates me.
He's got it all figured out, and he doesn't like what he figured out. Yeah.
But no, he's been good to me. He put up with a lot, and he had conversations he didn't need to have with me. But your father was great. I love the time I spent at the lake with your folks, too. Yeah.
I think I'm going to be back at the lake this summer. Don't tell anybody. Dear internet.
Your secret's safe with me.
Yeah. Shh, don't say anything, YouTube.
Shh. Well, I hope it's when I'm at the lake too. I went out of my way this year. I kind of got pissed off that I didn't have enough time with Juno in the summer. I thought I should make some more special time up. Like I was going to the lake for the Labor Day weekend with Juno, but her damn school, now that she's over at the school that she's at, they take her back on like the second day of September. And whoever's rented my sister's cottage for the last week in August goes into that Saturday, that long weekend. So I only get 2 days at the lake with her. So this year I said, screw it, put the money down. I'm taking the last week of August up at the lake.
Yeah.
It's just Juno and I. It's our time at the lake.
That sounds amazing. 2 days is not enough. I mean, you get there, you turn around and come back.
No.
Yeah. That's great. That's great.
So
All right.
yeah, I'll be at Lakefront where you met me last year.
Okay. I'm just trying to think. I'm going to be in the U.S. in late August until I think like maybe the 17th or something, and then I got to go to Michigan.
Oh yeah.
And then I'm thinking I'm just going to go in the right direction. So it's pretty easy to. Except I think I'm on like the Upper Peninsula. No, this is too inside baseball. This is not the show.
Oh, you're going to UP, are you?
Going up to the Yoop.
Maybe I'll have to get the Thunderbird going by August, and I'll come down and get you in Michigan.
Okay, but yeah, you might have to go up around Superior.
At the lake,
all right,
the end of August.
All right, well that's kind of it, I think.
That's it.
Good morning, Harry.
That's it. I said all I wanted to say.
Good morning, Dan.
Morning, Corey.
Good morning, Harry.
Morning, Dan.
Morning, Harry.
Good morning, Corey.
Good morning.
Morning.
HairCor.